And welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. Today we got the 2003 DVD collection. This will be the pay-per-view collection. Yes, I do have Insurrextion here as well. But first I'm just going to kind of run down the 12 standard pay-per-views from Royal Rumble through Armageddon. Kind of give you a better look at the spines here. This is probably one of my favorite collections to go back and look at every once in a while. And I do wish they would have done this for a few more years. It does take a bit of planning and preparation because, let's face it, if you got a guy like, Goldberg coming in and then you do have to plan forward for that. Or if some guy randomly leaves the company and then he's on the artwork of the spines, it's going to kind of need to be removed, but you already planned ahead, and that's hard to change. So before we get into it, guys, take some time, subscribe. If you're a new subscriber, make sure you comment down below some of your favorite 2003 pay-per-views. So let's take a look at the spine here. We got Kane, Kurt Angle, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Brock Lesnar, Rob Van Dam, Rey Mysterio. You got Goldberg, Stacy Keibler, Jericho, and you got Trish Stratus and Stacy Keibler in the bottom right. So really cool. And then we have Insurrextion, which took place June, and they're already all falling over. So 2003 is just an awesome time period in WWE. Again, it's one of my favorites to go back and kind of watch all this stuff. So let's take a look at the Royal Rumble from 2003. So the Royal Rumble in 2003, decent event overall. I do like this cover personally, but we did have, one of the best and worst championship matches back to back. That being Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle for the WWE title, and then Triple H and Scott Steiner. Something to note about these 2003 DVDs, a lot of bonus content, a lot of DVD extras. You got Undertaker return videos, a lot of Royal Rumble moments, and a bonus match from Raw. They do list all the participants from Raw, from SmackDown. This would be the first Rumble under the brand split. So really cool. I did mention the 2 title matches. We do have a first ever stepdaughter-stepmother match, World Tag title match, and Brock Lesnar versus The Big Show. Decent event. It's never been one of my favorites, but overall, pretty good show. Next up, No Way Out 2003. Got our, 3 main events on the cover. Again, not really one of my favorite pay-per-views, but I really like this time period. So we wouldn't have our first brand exclusive pay-per-view till almost June. And here we got Jericho versus Jeff Hardy, World Tag title match, Cruiserweight title match. This is when Matt Hardy was the champion. Got a 6-person tag team match, Lesnar, Benoit, and Edge versus Kurt Angle and the Team Angle. Undertaker versus Big Show. That's weird it happened here and not at WrestleMania 19. Scott Steiner and Triple H with Evolution. Stone Cold versus Eric Bischoff. This would be Austin's big return to after the walkout. And then The Rock versus Hogan 2. Again, a lot of extras here. 3.5 hour runtime. Next up, WrestleMania 19. A favorite of many. Really good show overall. I know this is one of my favorites to go back and watch. And, it's really cool to see, how many main events they had on this show. Got over 2 hours of extras. We'll look at some of this. You know, I almost think this could have been the cover. But they split it up onto 2 discs, the main card. So we had Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight title. Undertaker versus Big Show A-Train. Victoria versus Trish versus Jazz. Triple threat match for the WWE tag titles. Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. Triple H versus Booker T. Hulk Hogan versus Mr. McMahon. Austin versus The Rock 3. Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. And disc 2, a lot of extras, a lot of cool stuff on here. You know, we got the road to WrestleMania, WrestleMania weekend, post-match and pre-match comments, different WrestleMania features, and different comments, 20 years in the making, different training vignettes and things like that. Goldberg's debut the next night. This is a really good DVD to have. Next up, we got Backlash 2003, The Rock, Goldberg. I always thought it was cool to see Goldberg in WWE, but, you know, at the same time, I didn't like The Rock losing here. Goldberg lost, or Goldberg actually gets booed here. This was a pretty fun show, though. A lot of extras, like I mentioned earlier. We got Rey Mysterio versus The Big Show, Rikishi versus Sean O'Haire, Trish Stratus versus Jazz. I believe Jazz wins the women's title here. We got RVD and Kane versus the Dudleys, Team Angle versus Los Guerreros, 6-man tag, and then Lesnar versus Cena for the WWE Championship, and The Rock versus Goldberg. Solid show overall. You know, it's Goldberg's entrance into WWE. Judgment Day 2003. Not the biggest fan of this show. And this was kind of building towards, you know, Summer and SummerSlam. But we do have spoilers on the disc, with Christian winning the IC title. This was the return of Austin, now as co-general manager of Raw. So we had a 6-man tag team match, Benoit, Rhino, and Spanky versus the FBI and Cena. Yeah, so it's important to note that Benoit was out injured for most of 2002, and he's back now in 2003. Scott Steiner and Test versus La Resistance, a ladder match for the WWE tag titles, a battle royal for the IC title, which was since, you know, unified with the world title at No Mercy 2002. We got a bikini challenge, Mr. America versus Roddy Piper, Triple H versus Kevin Nash, Fatal 4-Way for the women's title, and a stretcher match for the WWE title. Never been a fan of the stretcher match. I don't know. I think it's a silly match. Next up is the Insurrextion pay-per-view from the UK. Now we got Austin and Bischoff present. You know, really cool cover. I like how they done this. It's also important to note that most of 03 don't have inserts, but they do have, you know, big match listings. So we got Rico versus Goldust, a women's title match. 6-person tag, Bubba Ray, Devon, and Spike versus Rodney Mack, Nowinski, and Theodore Long. Scott Steiner versus Test now. We got the World Tag Title match, RVD and Kane versus La Resistance. Christian versus Booker T, and a street fight for the World Heavyweight title. Really good show overall. I always like those UK pay-per-views. Next up, Bad Blood 2003 with a Hell in a Cell match. And it's always fun to look at some of these old advertisements. And I absolutely love this 2003 storage case. You don't see many of these around. And if you do, it's for a lot of money. So, Bad Blood '03, I personally enjoyed this show, but I think it's, a weaker show. And this is, Insurrextion is actually the first Raw pay-per-view. First Raw exclusive pay-per-view. Now they would start doing, Raw pay-per-views, SmackDown. And then Bad Blood, the first, traditional Raw pay-per-view. So we had, Dudley's versus Rodney Mack and Chris Nowinski. Scott Steiner versus Test. Christian versus Booker T. RVD and Kane versus La Resistance. And shortly after this, Kane would be unmasked. Goldberg versus Chris Jericho. Shawn Michaels versus Flair. We had the Redneck Triathlon and Hell in a Cell match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Triple H, Kevin Nash. I like the pay-per-view, but I know a lot of people have their opinions. Then we go into the first SmackDown pay-per-view, Vengeance. Never really been a fan of this Vengeance pay-per-view, but we did also crown the first U.S. champion on this pay-per-view. We had an APA Invitational, WWE Tag Title match, World's Greatest Tag Team versus Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio, Stephanie versus Sable, the finals for the U.S. title, Benoit versus Guerrero, Undertaker versus John Cena, Zach Gowen versus Mr. McMahon, and a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Lesnar, Big Show, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle wins the title here, but loses it fairly quickly on SmackDown. Next up, we got SummerSlam 2003. This is one of my personal favorite shows to go back and watch. Again, 2003. I absolutely love this year. Beautiful logo. I love Sable. Similar to the cover, except we got a little bit more puppies. We had Zach Gowen versus Matt Hardy. Fatal 4-way match for the U.S. title. World Tag Team title match. Shane McMahon versus Eric Bischoff. We would also see Coach turning heel. Undertaker versus A-Train. RVD versus Kane. WWE title match. Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar. I absolutely love this Brock Lesnar. Very competitive. Always stole the show, in my opinion. These 2 years that Lesnar had in 2002, 2003, I mean, he was incredible, the stuff he pulled off. Some of these matches with Kurt Angle were off the charts and some of my favorites. And then we would have the second Elimination Chamber match for the World Heavyweight title. Triple H, Orton, Jericho, Goldberg, Shawn Michaels, and Kevin Nash. Of course, Triple H retains, and Goldberg gets screwed out of the title. Next up, Unforgiven 2003. Face Your Fear, Kane. And once again, here's a beautiful shot of the 2003 collection. Again, I think this is a really good show, Unforgiven 03. It's also cool to check out how they made some of these DVDs. You got the WrestleMania 20 logo there. And I don't think they did it for the WrestleMania 19, no. But that's always cool to see, the WrestleMania logos. So we had Lita and Trish versus Molly Holly and Gail Kim. Scott Steiner versus Tess. 6-man tag team table match. JR and the King versus Coach and Al Snow. Triple threat for the IC title. Legend versus Legend Killer Shawn Michaels versus Randy Orton. Last man standing. Shane McMahon versus Kane. And the World Heavyweight title match, Triple H and Goldberg. This is where Goldberg finally wins the World Heavyweight title, but he wouldn't be champion for long. No Mercy 03. Got the SummerSlam 02 kind of cover there. This would be, another solid show from SmackDown. Like the No Mercy logo here. We also got, Catch SmackDown on UPN. Really cool. Did they have the Raw? No. So we would have the first ever biker chain match for the WWE title. Zach Gowen versus Matt Hardy. Chris Benoit versus A-Train. Got Rey Mysterio versus Tajiri. Eddie Guerrero versus The Big Show. Eddie Guerrero is going to drop the U.S. title here. And then he'll slowly be built up for the WWE title win a few months later. First ever father-daughter I Quit match. Stephanie versus Vince in an I Quit match. Yes, it happened. Kurt Angle, John Cena, and then Lesnar Taker in a biker chain match. This was decent. They were now building Lesnar as the heel. I didn't really like Lesnar as the heel. Survivor Series 2003. Really good show. This is a awesome pay-per-view. We got our tag team title match, cruiserweight title, women's title match. Got a classic Survivor Series match. You got Team Angle, Team Lesnar. And with the brand split here in this era, I think it gave guys a little bit longer title reigns because they were doing pay-per-views almost every other month. And then the big four, Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. So these title reigns gave guys, a little bit longer with championships. Then we have a Raw Tag Team or Raw Survivor Series match. Stone Cold versus Bischoff's team. Really good ending here. If Austin's team wins, the Rattlesnake can whoop ass anytime he wants. And if Bischoff wins, Austin is no longer co-GM of Raw. Of course, this would lead up into Austin being the sheriff, which, again, I really wasn't a fan of that. We had the Final Encounter ambulance match. Shane versus Kane. Buried Alive. Undertaker versus McMahon. This is where Undertaker, the American badass, is gone and would return as the Dead Man. Then we had Goldberg, Triple H for the world title. Really good show overall. Finally, Armageddon 2003. Really good pay-per-view. Another Raw exclusive pay-per-view. The show in Orlando. I also love the artwork for these, no spoiler covers. So we had a tag team turmoil for the world tag titles. Battle of the Sexes, Trish and Lita versus Jericho and Christian. Booker T versus Henry. IC title match, RVD versus Randy Orton. Shawn Michaels versus Batista. And a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight title. This is a show where Evolution would hold all the gold by the end of the show. Love the moment, and it was cool to see Evolution win every championship. So that about wraps it up, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and take some time and subscribe. We'll talk to you later. Peace.